Red alert, red alert. All hands to the battle station.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Battle Station. So tonight, we're going to be looking for the first time at one of the new cards revealed in the Vulcan Faction Pack. And that card is Logic is the Beginning of Wisdom. So this is going to be another episode centered around an individual card. We're going to have more of those in the future, as Battle Station won't be returning to a regular recording schedule. Instead, it will be posted as interesting builds come up. Logic is the Beginning of Wisdom has been discussed in detail in the community today, with some of the implications being very interesting for shipbuilding. It's a 2-point, unique Vulcan Faction elite talent, range 1 to 2. Activation phase, target a ship. Place a time token, continuous effect token, or permanent effect token from this ship or a card equipped to this ship on the target ship, or a card equipped to the target ship of the same type. It requires a Vulcan captain on a Vulcan ship. The interesting aspect of Logic is the Beginning of Wisdom is which cards in the game have continuous effects available. In fact, the majority of such existing effects are negative rather than positive. For example, the permanent effect token from Warp Core Ejection System, which is a 4-point Romulan tech upgrade, which reads, Action, discard this card to repair 1 damage to your hull and flip any Warp Core Breach critical damage cards assigned to your ship face down. For the rest of the game, you cannot perform any maneuvers with a speed greater than 1, and you cannot receive a Warp Core Breach critical damage card. If you do, immediately flip the damage card face down and treat it as normal damage. No ship may be equipped with more than 1 Warp Core Ejection System upgrade. Is almost unequivocally negative, the only positive aspect being that you are now immune, of course, to Warp Core Breaches. The community has been discussing the implications of being able to give an opposing ship the permanent effect token from Warp Core Ejection System for most of the afternoon. I was wondering, however, if it was possible to recur this, and in doing so, stumbled upon what I consider to be an even more powerful interaction that the card is capable of. In order to host the build for today, I've decided upon a Vulcan Dakir class starship with an attack of 3, a defense of 1, a hull of 5, which will be critical, and 3 shields. Its action bar is evade, target lock, scan, battle stations, and its upgrade bar is tech, weapon, crew for 19 points. Though I did not have to choose a Vulcan ship for this build, as we'll see in a few moments, I did so because it is simply the cheapest 5-hull ship in the game. On the ship, the captain we're going to be using is the Independent Captain Lore. He is a 4-point, so 5 on this ship, 7 skill captain with an elite talent slot, unique, who states, add 1 crew upgrade slot to your upgrade bar. During the roll attack dice step of the combat phase, you may discard one of your crew upgrades to gain +1 attack die for that attack. You may assign any elite talent upgrade to your ship regardless of faction restriction, and you do not pay a faction penalty when assigning any elite talent upgrade to your ship. This last effect means that Lore is certainly capable of deploying the Logic is the Beginning of Wisdom talent to his ship, and that ship need not necessarily be a Vulcan ship. We're going to use Admiral Matt Decker to both gain a talent slot and for his named ability. Matt Decker is a unique Federation Admiral with a -1 skill adjustment and an elite talent slot for 1 point, who reads Fleet Action. Target a ship within range 1 of your ship, including your ship. Target ship gains +1 attack die this round and suffers 1 damage to its hull. Why would we want to damage our own hull? Certainly the attack die is not worth it. But in addition to logic is the beginning of wisdom, we will be running the warp core ejection system in our text slot, which means Matt Decker gives us the damage we need to repair with the ejection system in order to actually use it. Now, is it possible to do this more than once? There isn't any Goval style effect for warp core ejection system because it is a tech upgrade, but in the extra slot from Matt Decker, we can still field any elite talent regardless of faction restrictions. We can, therefore, field the Rules of Acquisition Ferengi Elite Talent. It's a 1 per ship elite talent for 5 points, which says, Setup. Place 6 gold pressed latinum tokens on the captain equipped to this ship. Normally, Rules of Acquisition is restricted to Ferengi captains, but because of Lore's effect, we're able to deploy it to the ship. One of the effects of gold pressed latinum tokens is activation phase. Once per game, spend any number of GPLT. Equip a crew, tech, or weapon upgrade with a cost equal to the amount of GPLT spent that was discarded from this ship. 6 latinum is more than enough to buy back the warp core ejection system after we use it. In addition to this, I've put another version of the combo on the ship. Another talent which makes use of logic is the beginning of wisdom is the talent All Power to Weapons, a unique Dominion elite talent costing 5 points, which can only be taken by a Dominion captain, which Lore ignores, but is also restricted to ships of hull 5 or greater. That restriction is not ignored by Lore, which is why it's important that the Dakir has 5 hull. All Power to Weapons reads, Combat Phase. Place 3 time tokens on this card and disable this ship's shields. Continuous effect. This ship's shields remain disabled. This ship can only perform green maneuvers. This ship rolls +3 attack dice. While it may seem that giving an opponent +3 attack dice would be problematic, limiting them to only green maneuvers and stripping them of their shields is quite beneficial. In order to get the talent slot to deploy this talent to the ship, we're going to use Ilum Garak in Lore's granted crew slot. Ilum Garak, of course, reads, During the modified defense step of the combat phase, you may disable this card to add 1 evade result to your defense roll. You do not pay a faction penalty when assigning Ilum Garak or his elite talent upgrade to your ship. If Ilum Garak is ever disabled or discarded, you cannot use his elite talent upgrade. He is also a unique Dominion crew member for 4 points. Giving an opponent the All Power to Weapons token is occasionally crippling enough, but the real combo comes with an interaction that has already been confirmed by Worf. On the Worf forum, user IVCent asks, if a ship using All Power to Weapons is hit by the Hirogen tractor beam, will the ship using All Power to Weapons still move if hit with the tractor beam even if the maneuver is no longer green, or will the ship remain stationary? The Hirogen version of tractor beam reads, target an opposing ship within range 1 to 2, target ship treats all white maneuvers as red maneuvers, and all green maneuvers as white maneuvers, this game round. The response from Worf is, the ship using All Power to Weapons will not move. This means that by putting the Hirogen tractor beam, which is a 1 per ship tech upgrade costing 4 points, on this ship, we can activate All Power to Weapons, then in the next activation phase, give that token to an opponent, and use our action for the Hirogen tractor beam. This means that the opponent's ship will be unable to move completely and have all of its shields down. It will be rolling +3 attack dice, but that will only matter if it can get you in arc or has some kind of 360 weapon, and either way, you should be able to avoid it. If that does not work, this same build will be able to simply stop them from moving at a speed greater than 1 for the rest of the game using the permanent effect tokens from Warp Core Ejection System, which it will have 2 copies of to distribute. To make the points work out, we are taking Quark, who of course says, as a 3-point Ferengi crew, at the start of the game, place 1 non-Borg tech or weapon upgrade with a cost of 5 or less face down beneath this card. At any time, you may discard Quark to flip the upgrade that is beneath this card face up and deploy it to your ship, even if it exceeds your ship's restrictions. Under Quark will be Warp Core Ejection System. This saves us 2 points. The final build, altogether, looks something like this. A generic Dakir class at 19 points. Lore for 5 points, equipped with Logic is the Beginning of Wisdom for 2 points, and Ilan Garrick for 4 points. All Power to Weapons in Garrick's talent slot for 5 points. Matt Decker as an Admiral for 1 point. The Rules of Acquisition for 5 points. The Hirogen version of Tractor Beam for 4 points. Quark for 3 points, and under him for no points, the Warp Core Ejection System for a ship total of 48 points. There are obviously a number of variations possible on this build. Just as an example, it would be possible to take Decker off, get the talent slot some other way, and simply have him on a Romulan science vessel nearby so that you were able to keep your Admiral's slot free. Also, there are ways to activate Warp Core Ejection System during the activation phase as opposed to as the ship's action, which will make the timing a little less tricky, as this combo does require you to use the various pieces of it across multiple turns. With that said, I think that this is a powerful and interesting new combo that has the ability to absolutely decimate an opponent's fleet. My example build using the Dakir, along with the Worf ruling referenced in this episode, will be linked in the YouTube version of this episode's description. I'm looking forward to making more Battle Stations episodes as they come to mind. But until then, stand down, Red Alert, and secure from Battle Station.